Hey, everybody, welcome back to the 23rd episode of Taps and Patience. I am AJ with Design the Everything, here with my buddy Harrison of Precision Ingenuity. Hi, Harrison.
How we doing?
I am okay. I
Just okay?
I spent today. I had something that I wanted to get done on Saturday. I thought it would take me about an hour on Saturday, and
Mm-hmm.
I finished it up at about 5 o'clock this afternoon.
Ah, so did not go as planned.
No, just about everything that could have gone wrong did go wrong.
Oh, I love those. Not.
All right, so let me bring you through the story. So this
All
is
right, let's hear it.
the last operation of the last part of the pen. It is the
Okay.
what I'm calling the Bolton, which now at this point I should probably just call a button because I've been through enough design changes where it no longer is at all a bolt action pen and just a button.
Mm-hmm.
But this button pen has a 1/16 inch hole drilled in it crosswise. So for those of you that can't see the video, the button is just a cylinder with a couple small features on it. And one of those features is a 1/16 inch diameter hole drilled about halfway through. That is it. That is the only thing in the second op. It's just drilling this one hole. The location of it is critical-ish because it does affect how far the ink sticks out on the end. However, you can adjust that by filing on the button a little bit. So for these prototypes, it's not a big deal if I have to do a little bit of fit up to make sure that the ink is sticking out the right amount. So it's something that I can easily adjust. And so it needs to be somewhat precisely located just because there's a whole bunch of features in this tolerance stack that can change how the pen acts. And so all of those need to be somewhat controlled, but you can adjust for it. Anyway, simple operation. However, it's kind of a pain to hold on the mill. And the way I have been holding around things is with a ER collet chuck. And when I was first prototyping this, I used one of those ER collet chucks to hold it and just come in and drill it. The problem is I didn't really have a good way of setting a consistent stick out length on the ER collet chuck, which meant that I had to probe every time, which for doing one or two prototypes isn't a big deal. You just probe it and then you hit start and it runs. But when I was doing my batch of 24, I didn't want to have to probe 24 times to make these parts. And I was like, okay, this is really just a drill press part. Like, this doesn't need to be done on a CNC machine. Let's just get it, let's just throw this on a drill press and let my machine focus on other things while I just knock these out really quickly. And so I was just going to go to Harbor Freight to buy a drill press, like a small little benchtop one. And then talking to some friends, they pointed out that like the tram on those isn't necessarily perfect. And I ended up just doing a quick Facebook Marketplace search. I found a old Rockwell drill press, like before the days of them being Rockwell Delta. It's like an old iron, like nice drill press. It's still a desktop one, but it's like a big desktop one. It weighs like 100 pounds, and it was in good shape, and it was like $120. So I grabbed that drill press, then promptly hurt my back with it while trying to get it up onto a table. And so ever since then, I have been fighting back problems. That was the number one problem that crept in here. And so I got that, and I was like, okay, well, now I need a way to, position and hold this part so that I can drill the holes in it. And on like Saturday, I do work on Saturdays, but a lot of times I'm just doing fun stuff that I don't really have to care too much about. Like, it's not a full work day for me. It's basically just knocking out the random things I don't get to during the week. And so I was like, I'm just going to design this drill jig. And so I designed the drill jig, and it was super fancy. It could hold, anywhere between like an 1/8 inch diameter round part up to like a 1/2 inch diameter. I had moving clamps on it and, all kinds of fancy things, adjustable work stops. It was like, this was a super nice drilling jig. And I ran out of time on Saturday, and I got back to it today, Monday morning. And I started to cam it up, and I went, Okay, I have overcomplicated it. This thing's going to take me all day if I machine it now. It was a perfectly fine Saturday part. It is not a good Monday part. It had like four different parts that were all 2 or 3 operations each, and it was like, I don't really want to do a 10-op part, you know, for this little thing. So I redesigned my cross hold jig to. Oh, I even missed a step on Saturday. The thing that stopped me from working on Saturday is I didn't have the 1/16 inch drill bit. I thought I did,
Mm-hmm.
but I did not. So I had to go buy just a hardware store 1/16 inch drill bit. That's what stopped me from working on Saturday. All right. So then back to Monday. I started camming up this and I went, okay, this is not what I need to be doing with my time right now. I need to be making parts, not tools that are like basically just for fun. Like it was a fun thing. It was not a practical thing. And so I designed a really simple one.
It's for 24 parts. You're doing all this for 24 parts?
Yeah, this is all for 24 parts. A cross-hole drill. Like that's all I was trying to accomplish here. So I designed a really simple one. It was a 2-op part. The first op basically just being drilling a hole in a piece of stock, and I salami sliced it and tabbed it off so I don't even have to flip it. The next op was just drilling the cross hole for the 1/16 so I could, guide my tooling. On the first one I made, I scrapped the part and broke an end mill. I broke a 1/4 inch end mill because the tool I had in Fusion was a little bit different than the tool I had in my machine, and I did not realize that. The tool I had in my machine had like a 5/8 depth of cut, and the tool in my machine, or the tool in the machine had 5/8. The tool in Fusion had like a 3/4 inch depth of cut. And so when I went to do my final finishing pass, it just became very gooey very quickly and broke the tool, scrapped the part. Fortunately, the backup tools I had, like in my toolbox, were all the correct tool. I don't know how I ended up with one that was different, but I had all the other ones were correct. And so then I remade the part again, finally got that finished up, brought the part over to the drill press and got it, got the jig clamped down to my table. I was feeling really proud of myself because I had like my old fixture plate and it looked really nice. And went to put the drill into the drill press.
Too small?
The drill would not stay in the chuck.
Okay.
It is a 1/16 inch drill, and that chuck had a 3/32 inch minimum tool size.
Oh, okay. So it wouldn't fit in the chuck.
It wouldn't fit in the chuck. It was below the minimum tool size of that chuck.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh gosh, I can't order a new chuck and have it here in time. Like I need to get these done. And so I did some looking around and I found out that Harbor Freight did have one that fit and it would do the job. And so I ran over to Harbor Freight. I got a new drill chuck, got back, and then spent a solid hour and a half trying to get the old chuck off of the drill press.
So did at any point during this you go, man, probing these for 24 parts doesn't seem like it's going to take nearly as long anymore?
The entire time I was just kicking myself.
Okay.
But
you can't stop at some point.
I know. I mean, I didn't make the super fancy, 5-part drilling jig.
Yeah.
I made the single op part or the 2-op one.
Okay.
And it was just because it was an old drill press and it was rusted on. And eventually with a hammer and a piece of brass, I coaxed that other chuck to come off. And after that, things went smoothly. And I stuck on the new chuck. It just went right on, put the drill in, drilled the holes. The whole process of drilling the holes took me maybe 3 minutes. And that includes making an Instagram story.
Okay. So question in all of this.
Yes.
I think when I've looked through your Instagram stories, I think I've seen you have a part stopper. Like the one that bolts onto the Saunders plate and it's got the little S-bend in it or something. Is there any chance you could have rotated that and had that be your end stop that hit the exact center on that part? And then when you had it in the body, you just slid it up to where you hit the face of it. So it doesn't matter how you loaded it in there. You wouldn't be probing each one.
Probably. There's probably a dozen different ways I could have done this
Okay.
that would have been much faster than what I ended up doing. Like I could have just made
Yeah.
soft jaws. It would have
Well,
taken me 30
yeah.
seconds.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man, this is spending a dollar to chase a dime right
It's
here.
uh, I believe the term is sunk cost fallacy.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
every step along the way, it was, oh, this is just going to be another 5 or 10 minutes, and it'll save me time.
No.
But there were so many
Well,
things that popped
well,
up.
let me ask you this: do you need to be saving time right now or money?
I mean, both.
Well, are you going to use the drill press for anything else? Like, did you just want a drill press and need an excuse, or is it actually going to serve a purpose beyond
There,
drilling 24 holes?
there are a couple things that I needed it for personal projects.
Okay.
Like my dad was
Okay.
wanting to make some shelving that needed it. I have some just blocks of aluminum that I need to drill a hole in that I
Okay.
could use it for. And plus, part of the reason that I designed the fancy part holder thingy, the cross hole jig, was because like this is not going to be the last part that I make that needs a cross hole drilled in
Mm-hmm.
it.
I mean, I'm dealing with something similar. I have a product that I'm working on where I'm looking at making 300 of something, and it's got a cross hole, and I want to make a jig for a drill press, so I don't have to do it in the mill. So I completely understand. I'm just in your situation with such few parts. Um, that's a lot of running around for that.
if if things had gone smoothly, though, it would have been really fast and easy. The problem
Yeah.
was all the problems.
Yeah.
The plan was great. The execution was faulty.
So what did your final part look like that you made for this thing to sit in?
Um, it was basically a rectangle of aluminum that had a hole bored in one end of it to the correct depth, and then on the other side of it there was just one little 1/16 inch hole that I just stuck the drill bit through to locate it, and I clamped that down to the table.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's not too bad.
Yeah. And now that I have that template, I mean, I can use that same template for any part.
Fair enough. That sounds like quite the adventure.
Oh gosh. It
happens though. I mean,
yeah.
we all have instances where we look back on things that we've tried to attempt to do. It's gonna work. It's gonna work. It's gonna work, and you end up spending way more time trying to go about it one way when you could have just done something else.
Yep.
Oh, well. I'm glad you got those done, I guess. That was that sounds very stressful.
It wasn't so much stressful as me just like kicking myself the whole way. Like,
Yeah,
I should have
guess
just
that's
done
fair.
this in the mill. I can't believe that I did it this way.
Yeah. Well, for me, I got my large order done.
Ooh, good. Did you get it done on time?
I did. Well,
Okay.
it was technically due tomorrow, so
Oh, okay.
I dropped them all off. I dropped everything off today, so I'm a day early.
Yeah, I
But
knew you were having issues with your accuracy thing that you got sorted out, and I didn't know if that.
yeah, that affected it. And then my cousin, when we bought all the drills for this job, he tried to save $1, and similar to what we were just talking about, I guess. And he bought all uncoated carbide drills for stainless steel. Bad idea. Oh, bad idea. That being said, and I think I hinted a little to this last week. I ended up calling a company that made the drills and talked to them, and we came up with a recipe where I had an uncoated carbide drill drilling into 304 stainless steel, and I counted it up, and I think it ended up doing around 75 holes.
Okay.
Which I've had coated carbide drills not last that long in 304. As a matter of fact, I had an uncoated drill that snapped off, and I really needed that side because I was doing a ton of holes in that size. And so we ended up ordering one off of Big Master, just a generic carbide drill that was coated. And I found out the difference between easy to machine 304 and normal 304. So when I got these parts, or when I got this job, all the material that I ordered for this job, I ordered as easy to machine 304. But there was a shop that we were having them water jet cut at, and I was talking to them, and they said, "Don't get any half inch. We have so much half inch plate laying around right now. We'll just water jet it out of that, and we'll give you a good price on it." I was like, "Okay, that's fair." That was not easy to machine 304, and that destroyed all of my drills. I mean, we got through the job. I had enough drills, thankfully. And the drills that I broke that I didn't have replacements for, I just found the next size smaller, and then I had to bore it out after I drilled it. And that worked. It took a lot more time when you added in the boring, like 4 or 5 times longer per hole. But we got through the job, and when I went to drop off the parts, the guy that received them, he was so excited when he saw them. So, give you a little bit of backstory on this. I think that our reputation will go up with this, at least locally. When we got these parts in from this job, they want the part number engraved on it. They want all of the edges broke, and then they wanted them to be sandblasted. Okay. Well, almost no one around here does those things. People almost never
seem like basic things.
They seem like basic things, but I know. That's the crazy thing. They seem like basic things. Almost no one part marks them, or if they do, they'll write it on with like a Sharpie, or they'll use one of those like vibratory engravers where they, those like needle engravers, and it's really hard to read. So that's the problem with the engraving side. Deburr side, we run our hands over the parts, every single one, to make sure there's nothing that's going to cut or catch, and we deburr anything that is. Not everyone does that for them, so they have to do that. And then people might do those first two, but not a single person sandblasts them for them. So they have a whole sandblasting booth there for them, because they just have gotten to the point where they don't expect them to be done. But we actually read all the little notes and sandblasted them. And the guy that was doing the receiving, when I brought him in, he's just like, "I want to take every single vendor that we get parts from to your shop so they can see how it's done." And so he was just like over the moon.
Were you like, and how about you make me the vendor?
Well, he's not in charge of that, but that's basically what I went and I talked to the guy, and we were way too cheap on all those parts.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to up my pricing. But I think I'm going to keep doing everything that I've been doing, because the guy who actually placed the order, the procurement agent, he said that I didn't need to sandblast them, even though there's that note.
Yeah.
He says it's not expected. That being said, I think I'm going to keep doing it, because everyone in the shop who touches the parts was super excited to see them all the way done the way they were. And so I think if I keep doing that, I'm either going to force other machine shops to start doing that, and they're going to have to increase their pricing, which will make me more competitive if I increase my pricing, or I'm going to be able to increase my pricing anyways and do that even more than them, and they'll get so used to doing it that it's worth it for them, because it's a value-added service.
Yeah.
But either way, my pricing was way too low. He pulled up one part, and I was basically half of what what he was paying from other vendors. So that's really exciting for me, because I made money doing it this way, not as much as I'd like, but that means I have a lot more margin than I thought I did. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So, and he told me that he's got 6 more. So that was a 3 conveyor job, or a 3 line job, or however they do it. He's got a 6 line that's coming down, which would be basically a double order of what I just got done with. And he said he's sending them my way. So
nice.
When it hits.
All the same programs or different parts?
No, it'll be all different parts. Okay. So there might be some, like, these are reusable parts. And on this one, I had some extra parts, and if they're a high use part, they'll buy the extras. So
Okay.
like when you're machining parts for a job shop job, typically you try to order material extra in case things go wrong. And on parts that I'm running for the first time, especially smaller parts, I'll usually plan on running one or two extra just to make sure that I got everything dialed in. Um, like there was one part that I was doing 30 of, and I was holding it 4 at a time in my vise. So rather than doing a special program to run 2 at a time, I just ran extra, and so I had 2 extra, and then I ran a part on the lathe. I had already had all the pieces ready to run, and so I just had an extra one by the time it was all said and done. And they bought one of them, and the other two they said um, they wanted me to hang on to them because it is a part that they've ordered before. They just don't order very many of them, so I'll hang on to it, and then if they ever order that particular part again, I'll have at least 1 or 2 ready to go. So
Yeah, we had a contract in my old day job, which was the laser cutting shop, where it was like deliver. I don't remember what the number of parts is. Let's say it was 1,000 parts per month, but it was plus or minus 5%. And so if you wanted, like, if you lost, a couple parts during that batch, then like you just delivered a couple less, and you invoiced them for a few less. Or if you made more, then you invoiced them for a few more.
mm-hmm. That's a good way to do it. I'm surprised more people don't do that because in the machining world, it's real easy. Well, I guess it depends because these particular jobs, the conveyors are highly specialized, or the lines or whatever. They're extremely specialized to the process, so there's not a lot of parts that are used multiple times. They're usually tweaked. So it's a low mix, high volume situation.
Yeah, and the ones
But
we were making were like retaining clips of something.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. So in that instance, it like at my old job when I started to take over purchase parts, like part sales.
mm-hmm.
One of the things that I tried to do is anytime I did a machining job for a job where we order the same parts, I would say, what is the quantity that you can get out of a stick? And that's what I want. And, I would try to work with them to try to figure out, like, what's the batch size that makes the most sense for how you're making them? And, like, give me that many. That way I can get a better price. And you can use all your material.
Yeah.
So you don't have material laying around. And I was able to cut my prices by between 10 to 40%, depending on the part, by doing that. So I don't know who they have up there now, but if you work with people, you can get some pretty good pricing on some stuff.
Yeah.
So I had one part that we were ordering it in quantities of 5, and they were paying $200 to $300 per part. And we were going through them pretty consistently. Like we were placing an order once every 2 to 3 weeks for 5 parts. And I increased that amount to, I think, between 20 and 30. And the price dropped to 80 a part.
Yeah.
It's like, and like that was like I was on the opposite end of that one. I was the one that was buying and reselling, and like I was able to. We had a product that we were selling for. I think we were selling it for like 1,800, and I was able to drop the price with permission from the higher ups to 1,200, and the cost to build it went from like 1,200 to like under 600, I think. So like our margin got bigger, and we were able to reduce the price. Like it was just like a win-win all the way around.
Yeah, and that's when you start getting into like placing blanket PO, saying, "Hey, here's a PO for 1,000 pieces in the next 3 months." And then you can either set up release dates ahead of schedule, or you can, do. I guess it's called a release. You can do releases when you need them, or we did a lot of that with materials. Like, hey, let's lock in, 10,000 pounds of this steel, deliver it across 3 months in equal installments, and
So got that big job done. Super happy about that. And now the shop is pretty empty for the most part, but I have a lot of smaller projects that I've been putting off that I got to get done now.
Mhm.
And so I'm kind of hoping the big job doesn't land for a week or two, so I can go in and start cleaning up all this little stuff that needs to get done. Um, and I can do things like quote jobs for people.
Yeah.
So
So are
and
these
other things.
projects, are they shop improvement projects, or are they like, Uncle Joe's BB gun needs a sight put on it?
Oh, well, let me just look at my list here. And that's the beautiful thing about having Monday. I can
It
just
is
pull it up
Monday.
and look. It is Monday, and I'm using Monday.
Tomorrow, though, we're in
Um,
trouble
yeah, that's
because
true.
Tuesday doesn't. Actually, Tuesday, that's a thing.
It might be a thing. So let's see here. I have one, two, three, four gun related things. I have one big job that I need to send out some emails on. I have two products that are basically out of stock that I need to replenish stock on. I have three shop projects that are going to be new product lines that I need to do some work on. Um, and then I have one job that's kind of been put on hold for like I started it back in October, and they haven't really been like hounding me for anything, and they kind of messed me up, and so I'm finally starting to make headway on that. So it was kind of one of those like I would like to have this jobs that they didn't they didn't really need for anything. And it was one of those jobs where I could have made pretty good money on it, and I probably still could, um, but I haven't had time to do the R&D work on it. So, um, and then I got one big gun job that a guy he's wanting to come up with a product line, and he's already got about between 30 and 40 pre-orders, and we've got our first prototype done for that. So we really need to get moving on that because that one could be he could place an order for a couple hundred if we can get all the bugs worked out.
Is this the same thing you've been working on for a while? The sheet metal parts and
Yeah,
welding the.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So we made our first prototype. We delivered it to him. He was really happy with it. Our welds were junk, which we kind of knew that because none of us are really that great at welding. I got a buddy who's good at welding that I'm gonna try to reach out to and see if he can help us out. Um, the sheet metal parts. And that's been part of our problem with it is because anytime we make a change, it's SendCut sends like a week or two to get
Yes.
new ones.
Yes.
And so I think in the future, we're gonna just order a sheet and have it all water jet cut. It'll be more expensive, but it'll be a lot faster. And if I order a big sheet, I can just have it water jet cut to whatever I need, and just until that sheet's gone. And then once I get it all dialed in, then I can send it over to SendCut Send and go from there. Mm-hmm. Because SendCut Send will be the best way to do it. It is way cheaper than anything else, but their lead time for small runs, prototype stuff is it's not fast enough. So
Yeah. If you're, I don't know, these are just carbon steel parts, right?
mm-hmm. Yeah,
If you need more of them, like we can send them over to my old day job. Their lead times might be a little bit higher, um, but they will probably be cheaper, assuming any volume.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, it just depends. Right now, we're just kind of doing onesie twosies of all this stuff. So, and they're small parts. I mean, they could fit in your hand, like all of them. So, um, but we'll see.
But if you need 500
Uh,
of them,
yeah, I might have to do that because when we get into the higher volume stuff, um, I would definitely be interested in sending it to. I mean, I like SendCut Send, but I at that point I'm willing to work with anyone if I can get a good price. So, do they do stainless?
yeah.
Um, because another thing I've been looking for is that SendCut Send doesn't do. And I've been working with some guys around here, and I think I found someone who's giving me a pretty good price on it. So it might not be that important right now, but eventually I'm going to want to find some good pricing on stainless steel tags out of polished material. and Sencut Sen doesn't do polished and doesn't designate grain direction. So I need to work with other people. I got a lot of different shops around the area that I've already got working relationships with, and I've already had them do some of the work. But if I was a really big price break from someone else, I would definitely be interested.
Is that
So
when you say polished? Do you mean like a number 4, or do you mean like a? Okay.
number 4, number
So
3 or number 4.
that was one of the things I did there. Like we made tags that we sent off for people to laser, equipment tags.
Oh, okay.
So yes, that is something that they do because I've done.
Yeah.
In fact, you'll probably get them from my programs. So
Yeah. Yeah, because we we just did an order of 200 and plus tags for someone, and they're like 1 inch by 4 inch with 2 holes for mounting. So I mean, I'm trying to get more of that work, because it is very profitable. So currently, and it's a lot easier than machining.
have you
But
gotten a PO
I like
yet
the
from that big marking job?
No, and I'm gonna reach out to him tomorrow and just touch base. Um, just to it's one of those things where at this point I've got the green light from him. I'm just waiting on him to get the green light from everyone else in the chain. So, um, and I'm wondering what he's doing for the first prototypes because I've given him a couple plates, but I don't know if he actually used them for the prototypes or what. So, we'll see. But let's see here, what else do I have? There was something else that I was trying to remember. Oh, I remember what it was. We, my cousin, slash business partner, Weston, his sister and him schemed up this idea to do a giveaway, a tumbler giveaway, that we're gonna laser engrave. So his sister is a real estate agent, and so she's trying to build up her Instagram profile. And so she's doing a Tumblr giveaway and she's tagged us in it and we're kind of helping her out with it. We've gained now we had about 750-ish followers and we're up to over 760 in under 24 hours. So we've gained or over the weekend we've gained close to 15 followers from this giveaway, which has been and it's been just been blowing up like crazy. People have been commenting on it. It's by far the most commented one. Now, granted, people are just tagging other people's names in it for
Yes.
the contest, so I mean, it's not like it's an organic thing, but it has shown a spike in growth for a short period of time. How long that will sustain, I have no idea, but it's kind of cool.
Now, are you requiring people to follow you as part of the giveaway?
No,
Okay, good.
we aren't. It's part of we're just collaborating with her. It's for my cousin. So Weston, who's my business partner, his sister. So they're both my cousin, but it's for her. It's for her thing. So
Yeah, I have seen people hurt themselves with giveaways because they have done a giveaway and it was super successful and they required people to follow them, but the people just wanted the thing that the person was giving away. And so then they picked up a whole bunch of dead followers, people who didn't,
Yeah.
interact with the post at all. And then Instagram was like, nah, we're not going to share you in our algorithm anymore. And it really hurt their
Yeah.
account.
yeah, and I would love to do. I wouldn't mind doing more giveaways of some sort, kind of like your Patreon deal, like to get feedback on stuff. I just don't know a good way to do it. Like I need to have a way where people are interacting with our Instagram account a little bit more somehow. Like maybe I'll just have to make a post of, which item would you guys like to see next, and then whoever comments, like the top comment, will give a prototype to or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Not a bad idea.
So, yeah. But I'm trying to grow our Instagram page more, and I'd like to see it get up there.
I am officially changing prototype of the month finally.
Oh,
Yeah.
what do you mean?
So this
Explain.
pen, the pen has done prototype of the month in because not only am I not making money back like on materials really, I have also invested a lot of my time in it. I'm at like 60 hours right now invested in these pens.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I've basically, like, between tooling and, if you count the drill press as part of the purchase, like I'm at a wash in terms of the money I got for it, for
Mm-hmm.
the pens. So, like, basically I've spent 60 hours working for free.
Yeah. Yeah. So I would keep the prototype of the month club, but what I would do is I would either lower the dollar amount or just give different tiers where you say, hey, at any level, um, I'm going to do a random drawing for whatever prototypes I'm working on. And if you're a higher tier, you're have a higher percentage of getting chosen, but everyone is in the same queue, or have it different, do it differently, where you say, um, 50% of the pens or 50% of my prototypes go to the top tier. And if you're in the top tier, then I'm going to draw a random name from that top tier, and 50% of whatever I'm working on at the time will go to that. My mid tier will get 30% of whatever I'm working on, and my bottom tier will get 20%. And you could break it up into 3 tiers, and then you're saying, listen, you guys if you're doing this, you're not doing it to get a prototype, you're doing it to help me, and I would like to reward you by giving you prototypes, but I cannot do it on a consistent basis because you can explain your situation, and I bet you'll probably lose some people, but I think you'll gain a lot more respect, and people will understand. If the people still want to support you, they can go to a lower tier, um, kind of a deal.
Well, what the final decision was, with talking with the Discord and everything, is it is now just going to be prototype of the every other month.
Okay.
So that basically gives me twice as much time and money to play with on a prototype,
Yeah. Okay. That's fair.
which lets me do, things like the pen. Like, a week over 2 months isn't a big deal, but a week over 1 month, like, that is a big portion of my schedule.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
For sure.
every other month, I will still not be making a lot of money off of it, but I'll be able to do bigger, better prototypes, and then I'll be able to, um, not be losing money. I just,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. That's fair. And I guess it's a good thing that you talked them over with your guys and Discord. So that is the right way to do it.
So I'll be announcing that. Well, I guess in this podcast episode, I'll be announcing it in the letter that I send with, the pens.
Heard it here first, folks.
Yeah. The people in the Discord already know, though not
Yeah.
everybody is in the
Yeah.
Discord.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And I think that's reasonable. I wondered how you're going to be able to keep up with that pace in the back of my head, like of trying to do the prototype of the month club stuff. It seemed like it would take a lot more time than expected.
if I was in a vacuum and not doing, like, Kickstarter stuff, like, if prototype of the month stuff was my only thing, I could
Oh
do
yeah.
something in a month. Like, that wouldn't be a big issue.
Mm-hmm.
But I would have to charge a lot more to do it every
Yes.
month.
Yes. Yeah. It would have to be your main source of income, and people would have to be your stick.
Yeah.
Is like that is my income. That is my deal. And in a way, that's kind of the knife maker's model.
Yep.
Um, to some extent, like we got a guy who in the knife making community is pretty. He's decently well known and respected. Um, I'm not in the community, so I don't know, but I do know he's got a really healthy following on Facebook. And he'll just post, "Hey, I made 5 knives this week. Who wants them?" And he'll have bidding wars on people
Yep.
that want his stuff, and it's insane. Um, his son um, is kind of following his father's footsteps, and he gets to launch his stuff on his dad's Facebook page, which he's got he's got a whole big audience that his dad has built up over the years that is ready and eager to buy. So he's very fortunate in that respect because there's already a audience there.
Yep.
So, but he it's it took them a long time to get to that point, to build up that audience. And in a lot of ways, we have it a lot easier than he did, because he started out in, what was it, like I don't know, the 90s or something. So there wasn't really as big of an internet scene, and he just had to travel around to shows and show people his knives to try to build up a following that way. So it's a lot easier for us in some respects. It's also a lot harder because now everything's on the internet. So now you're not just competing with the guy down the street, you're competing with everyone who has an internet connection and a camera.
Plus YouTube and Facebook and all the other distractions. Yeah.
Yeah. So like there's definitely like something to be said about having it easier when all that stuff wasn't around, but also being harder because it wasn't. And then on the flip side, it's easier to get your name out there. It's just harder to compete with all the noise. So
I would totally like work off of that model if I knew how to get there. Like if I could just do, I don't know, maybe it's just a matter of demand. Like if I can only make like these challenge coins, like if you had to be a Patreon to get first dibs on the challenge coins or something like that, I would be for that. Though I guess it's not written down anywhere, like in the Design Everything values or mission statement. But one of the things that I like to do is make sure that my products are affordable by basically anyone who cares enough.
Mm-hmm.
So like, and that doesn't mean cheap necessarily, but it means that, it doesn't really matter who you are. It could be a high schooler. And if they cared enough, they could save up, over the course of a year, $100 for a really nice pen.
Yeah. However, you could still do special edition versions and give those either at a discounted price to your Patreons or first dibs to your Patreons.
Yes.
And so you could do the same products, but at a higher tier.
I might do more of that. The last 2 months, I have done special edition carabiners, and those have sold out really fast. I think the first one was like 12 hours, and the other one was 24 hours.
What did you do for the special edition carabiners?
So the first special edition carabiner, these sold out so fast that nobody knows about them. But the first special edition carabiner, I had been collecting all of the powder coat that I spilled when filling up my powder coating containers for the Kickstarter. And I had this just like jar that was basically all of the Kickstarter colors mixed together. And it was clean powder because it was powder that I spilled on the table when filling the jars, not powder that like got sucked up off the floor. So it was clean powder. But powder coat colors don't mix like paint. Like if you take white powder and black powder, you don't get gray powder. You get black and white speckled powder. That's cool. So those carabiners were like this crazy, it almost looked like sand. It was a little bit pinkish apparently because most of my colors are kind of reddish, but it was just this really wild speckly pattern that we called the Kickstarter amalgam. And then the next set of carabiners I did, I called Starry Night, and it was like a dark blue base with white and yellow mixed in. So it was kind of like, so again, it was mostly dark blue, like navy blue, and then it had some like stars in it.
That's pretty cool.
And I think they looked great, and people liked them. The problem is, and the reason I haven't done them for this month is my powder coat booth is halfway completed at this point.
Yeah.
So I haven't been able to do any powder coating. But I think that should be done by this weekend, I think is the plan.
Yeah. Have you sold any of do your new carabiners come with that latch mechanism or whatever?
Yes. All new carabiners ship with the retrofit on them. But you also get the wrench if you want to take it off.
Okay. That's cool. Yeah, my keychain today again went whang and shot across the parking lot.
Yeah, we'll get you a retrofit kit. I've been waiting to finish the pens to make more of those, and the pens have dragged on for a week and a half.
Well, I kind of want to make my own. I
Mhm.
really want to try that sliding mechanism.
Yeah.
I finally have a little bit of free time that I might be able to sneak it in this week. Um, but I really want to try to see if I can get that sliding mechanism to work
Yeah.
because I think that'd be cool.
I need to make more of those retrofit kits. I made like 125 sets of them, and I thought that was going to be way more than enough, and I was wrong. I sold out very quickly, and now need to make more.
Mm-hmm.
Fortunately, the it's like $1 of material or $2 of material makes like 200 of them.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's a lot of processing and
Yeah,
tumbling
yeah.
and picking them out of the chip
The
pan.
machine time is not your biggest factor. It's just time.
Yeah. Well, actually, the biggest factor by far is shipping.
Yeah,
They're just
that's true.
expensive to ship. They're too thick to send by envelope, and it's like I'm shipping like in anything under the 4 ounces is the same cost. So it doesn't matter that they weigh less than an ounce. It still costs the same as 4 ounces.
So is there maximum thickness on an envelope?
Yes, 1/4 inch.
These are thicker than a 1/4 inch?
Well, when they're in their packaging, they are.
Here's a question. Could you laser cut something out of cardboard that they slotted into and then stick the cardboard in the envelope?
Probably. The other issue I have, okay, so the other issue, and this is what's kept me from going farther down this route, is I'm shipping through my Etsy pattern website, and
Mm-hmm.
they require you to have tracking info. And Pirate Ship doesn't ship first class
Envelope.
mail.
Nah.
And so the only thing I could do is be like handwriting addresses and sticking stamps on, and the workflow would just take me so
Yeah.
long. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna do. I'm not gonna manually type in 100 addresses.
Yeah. That's annoying.
So
Hmm.
there's a workflow issue there too.
Yeah. Etsy doesn't do envelopes? I mean, how do they do stickers? That's weird.
I
I
mean,
would have.
you can send stuff in an envelope, but Etsy would consider it a late shipment, and it would hurt your star seller rating.
What if you set it up as free shipping?
Still,
Because they just
you need to have
a tracking number.
the tracking number.
Hmm.
So I'm sorry, everyone. I'm just sending it the way that is easy for me. Like I'm not making money on these things, and
No, you're fine. That's a frustrating thing on Etsy's part.
yeah,
Like I
I
get
mean,
it, but I don't.
and none of the package services will let you send things via first class mail.
Mm.
I think it just they don't make money off of it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. There was something else I was thinking of just a second ago.
While you're thinking, I have really just one other small thing. I got an RO
Mhm.
system. Well, I
You
purchased an RO
did.
system. I have not installed an RO system.
Did it? Oh, you haven't installed it yet.
Yeah, the pieces just showed up on Sunday or Saturday evening. Um, I found a really small one on Amazon, and I don't use that much water. Basically, just a couple
Mm-hmm.
gallons a week for coolant, and then occasionally changing out the water in my. I almost called it a dehydrator. That's not the right word. My ultrasonic cleaner, or
Mm-hmm.
my rinse bath for after the ultrasonic cleaner.
Okay.
And so it was about $100 for me to piece together a system. It does a whopping 2 gallons an hour, but I bought a float valve and a solenoid. So the float valve will fill up a container and then stop. And then also I have a safety solenoid just in case, and that's going to go on a timer relay. So kind of like John Gribsmo's thing, I can hit a button and be like, stay on for the next 5 hours or whatever, and then
Mm-hmm.
it will automatically turn off if the container fills, or if something goes wrong with that, it'll only run for 4 hours or whatever. And 4 hours,
Yeah.
remember, is only 8 gallons, which isn't going to wreck my shop.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome. Yeah, I got to figure out what our next product's going to be, and I'm trying to decide. There's so many good ones.
mhm.
CNC top.
Okay.
uh, different sized coins, or 1911 grips. Um, and something like the coins would be super easy to program and
Yeah.
set up.
You can knock that
It's
out in
something
like half an hour.
it's something we just need to do. Um, but the top and the grips are going to be a little bit harder. The grips are going to be the hardest, depending on what we do with them. But
For the coins, why don't you just start like buy a chunk of material, buy a foot or whatever the minimum length is, and then start selling them, and don't worry about programming them until you get your first order.
we try to sell everything in about a 1 to 2 day turnaround.
Yeah,
Everything
how
in
long
our
does it
store.
take you to slice a coin off a bar?
Not long. The problem is I don't know what I'm doing to be able to stop to try to get that done. The coins were trying to fit in between jobs as filler, and we ran out of the current coins that we have. And thankfully, we're all caught up on all of our other work. So I'm actually going to run more coins tomorrow. So what I really need to do is I should have some material laying around that can do the smaller coins, and I'd like to do some larger coins too.
Is
So
is there any setup involved on the coins? Because I would imagine those are all standard tools that you always have on your turret.
yeah, they're pretty much standard tools. The biggest thing is making sure we have the collets that can hold them whenever we do the flip them over to do the backside. Um, I haven't checked to see what we have, um, but those things are so small, like so thin, that I have to have collets that are sized to just perfectly fit them. And so I have a whole bunch of different collet sizes. I just don't know what sizes I have that would work. My goal would be to do we do a 39 millimeter. I want to do a 32 millimeter as my small size, and then I want to do what is it, like a 50 or 60 millimeter as a large coin. But I want to do a large coin for like for poker, like your dealer, big blind, small blind, all of those types of. They're usually much bigger stainless steel, or not stainless steel. They're usually much bigger diameter coins. So I'd like to do those.
Do you have a you don't have a sub spindle on your lathe, correct?
No, I
Okay.
wish. Oh, I want one so bad.
So there's
It
probably not a good way to do it as a one-op part.
No, we've tried so many different times, and the other
Okay.
problem is we have uh free 304 material that we've been making them out of, and I really just need to bite the bullet and go buy a bunch of 304. I mean, sorry,
Three or
we
three.
have 304. We have 304 material that we're getting for free. That's just cut off bars from another shop where they're literally scrap that they throw away, and that's how we got started with the coins. But it machines so bad. It's so hard to get a good finish out of them. And our inserts only last about 40 coins before like our finisher to try to get a really good finish because we're really picky on it. It only lasts about 40 coins before before it's toast. And so I really just saving finishing. It'd make a big difference if I switched over to a 303 or like a. I was talking to someone on Instagram, Surveying Solutions, or
Servant?
Servant Solutions, um, and we were talking about PH17, how it machines
Mhm.
really nice, and so I've machined some PH17 on the lathe, and it machines. It's probably the nicest machining and nicest finish 304 or stainless steel material um, that I've ever turned.
That's what my
So
pry bars are.
is 17.4
Yep, 74.
machine's pretty nice, doesn't it? I just need to bite the bullet and do that.
My slitting saw just
Um,
doesn't like it. That's my biggest problem because I don't
oh
have the super
really?
low spindle speed because I don't want to put it in.
Oh
I
yeah.
don't want to put my machine in low belt, and because it's
Hmm.
stainless and because the saw is a 2-inch diameter, that means I need to run at a low surface speed. Plus, the saw is big, and both of those mean low RPM. And the
Have
Tormach
you
just doesn't like
have
that.
you run it in low belt?
No, I refuse on principle.
What? I ran this whole job in low belt and it made such a big difference. Like I just did 100 and some odd parts, and I started out by doing like everything that I needed to in low belt and then quickly switch back up to high belt. But eventually I got tired of it and I just ran everything in low belt, and I had the best success that I've ever had running stainless, running everything in low belt. Like, and I only had a handful of tools that needed more than 2,000 RPMs. Granted, my tools are usually a lot larger than yours, and I do realize that. But I mean, the smallest diameter tool that I ran was like a 1/4 inch, and it ran fine at 2,000. It loved it. I got some of the best finishes I've ever gotten out of that tool at 2,000 RPM.
So I use a 3/16 inch tool for all of it, except the so obviously. The problem is there is surfacing. I have to surface in the bevel, and it would be very slow at 2,000 RPM, like very slow.
Yeah, but you could go, it kind of goes with that higher chip load. So, like I accidentally, because I forgot that low belt was at 2,000 RPM. The Tormach, if you program it at a higher RPM, it'll keep your feed rate the same, but run your spindle at the 2,000. And so I ended up taking 50% more feed per tooth on accident, and my finish was so much nicer.
The difference is I'm already taking that.
That's true. Oh, fair enough.
Because I think I'm on a 3/16 inch tool, I'm at least at 2,000 inch per tooth, I think. I don't know what I'm doing for the surfacing, but
now for your surfacing, do you have to have a small diameter ball for it?
Or could you get so I'm not using a ball nose, I'm using a bull nose, which I do need to use because I don't have room to go below the end of the part.
Okay. And you can't use a larger diameter?
No, because again, the larger diameter you use, the lower you have to go, like down past the end of the surface.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
Or if I'm saying that right, I don't know. Maybe that's not how that works. Maybe that's only true with ball noses. But regardless, I'm doing this Lamy slice method, and they're pretty closely packed together. And if I space them out more, the stick out on either side of my vise gets farther. So and I already have chatter issues there.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair enough.
Plus, I use this one size tool.
You don't like changing your tooling out, do you?
No. This is the first time that I have had non-standard tools in my ATC for probably ever since I've gotten this mill. Really? At least 7 or 8 of my tools were the original ones that I loaded into the ATC.
Man, I am always changing out my tooling all the time. Gotten really fast at it. On this job in particular, I did a pretty good job of trying to line up my tooling where I was only loading it up once and changing it out once, and I had enough extra holders that if I needed to take a tool out that I was going to use later, I could just label it and then just switch it out on the ATC and keep going.
I mean, I do that too. I have 9, I think, or 10 preloaded tools right now in tool holders. But generally, I have my standard tools in the mill, and I design my products to use those standard tools. And then, I have 4, 5, 6 different tools that I can swap in and out, like as swing tools as needed. And then also, if I'm doing like a one-off fixture, then I will hand load tools if I'm not doing production, which the Tormach does a really good job of handling. That's my favorite part of Pathfinder.
Oh, it's hand loading tools?
Yeah, because it'll just like stop and wait for you and be like, hey, I need tool 4. Yeah. Can you load tool 4? And you just put it in, you hit go.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I absolutely. It's one of the things I absolutely despise about Haas. Trying to teach a class at JBU at the local university. You have to use tools 1 through 10 in your program. That is the only thing you can do. Even though it has more slots for it, and even though it has a whole other column dedicated to like tool 10, pocket 10, tool 1, pocket 1, tool 3, pocket 3, whatever. Like it has that whole column. It's uneditable. You can't edit it. It seems like it'd be real easy to just be like, tool 13 is in pocket 5. Tool 37 is in pocket 4. Like what we do on the Tormach. Like, it's not rocket science.
Now, you know about H offsets, right?
Yes.
Okay. And do those not work? Can you not have like tool 1 H13?
The problem is it's still calling tool 1, and if you try to probe the diameter of it, or the I don't know. I need to look at that.
So if you do like T1 H13 MO6, it will pull up the pocket T1 and then apply the offset H13.
But how do I output it in? How do I output it in Fusion that way? What do I put up in Fusion?
On the last tab in the on the last tab inside the tool library, like when you're editing the tool, there are like 3 different numbers you can assign it, or 2 different numbers. One is the tool number, one is the offset number, and there's a third number. I don't remember what that one does. Now, in your post should be able to handle this already. Like, that's a pretty standard thing.
Yeah. I've never really thought about it that way. That's kind of annoying, but it makes sense.
Yeah. This is what I had to do on my old Sherline lathe, because some dingus wrote the post processor in weird ways, because he didn't know what he was doing. And basically I couldn't figure out how to get, the dingus couldn't figure out how to get the logic to work on the controller. And so instead of handling the tool change logic in the controller, it was handled all in the post.
Gotcha.
Which is not the way to do things, in case you're wondering. But it did work for me.
Okay. What's going on here?
Are you opening up Fusion?
I'm opening up Fusion because I want to get this figured out. Because it is bothering me.
The H numbers is the one. Because then basically, like, you wouldn't care what pocket the tool is in. You just care about the H number. And then
because I have everything set up offline. That's still my problem with that is that I still have to program which tool pocket it's going to be at before I get to the machine.
That's true.
And that's the thing that I love about the Tormach is I can load any tool into any pocket and I don't have to change my program.
I bet somebody who actually knew Haas's could explain this. Like, I bet there's a cheat code.
If there is someone who is listening to the podcast who has dealt with this problem and has a known solution, because I called a Haas rep and talked to him about this for a while, and we couldn't figure anything out.
Could you?
The H number is the best solution that actually would work, and I know it would work because I crashed a tool into I crashed a tool with the student because they forgot to label the tool the correct number, and I changed the tool number but not the H number.
I've done that.
and so it totally rammed it in and that H number was outside of the tool number range. Because it was set up as tool 16, which the mini mill only has 10 tool pockets. So I know for a fact from that I can call a tool that's in one pocket and then apply a different H number to it. So I know that would work, but it's just really, really stupid and annoying.
So I bet the way people have done this, and again, I've never run a Haas, so take this with a grain of salt, but I bet the way people have done this before is they have written a preamble bit of G code that their post automatically spits out, where you can assign a macro variable for each tool. And so right at the beginning, you can say, okay, H13 is tool 1, H14 is tool 9, H whatever, and then it'll auto-populate throughout the thing. And I bet somebody already has that post.
Yeah, that's still an annoying workaround, especially when Haas has that column. I mean, all you need to know is which tool's in which pocket. Like, anyways.
I bet there's like there's a pay feature that you didn't pay for, or the school didn't
No,
pay for when
no,
they
there,
bought the machine, or there's
it's
got to be like an M
well,
code that turns on this. There's got to be something.
it,
Like there's no way. Like Haas is known for having a good controller. There's something here.
there's got to be something here, but I will say, at least from the Haas rep that I talked to, he couldn't figure anything out. Not saying that it doesn't exist, but the Haas rep that I talked to, who so far has been able to answer every single one of the questions I've ever had successfully, this is the only question that I've asked him that he has not had a good answer to. And after talking with him, he's like, "This is dumb. Why doesn't this work?"
Yeah.
So he even thinks it's stupid and should work, and that it's a very valid point.
I would say get on the Instant Machinist Discord, and then you'll get 37 answers of different ways you
Yeah.
can do it, and
Yeah.
5 ways that you can do other things.
Yeah. I'm sure I'm going to get a couple that would be like, for starters, throw the Haas in the trash.
Yeah.
Get a proper machine.
Actually, the Instant Machinist Discord is pretty good about not hating on Haas's too much, but they get that they make money.
Oh, my Doosan rep, whenever I was looking for my lathe, I mean, they were dunking so hard on Haas, and I get it. Like, you know, if I could go back and I could redo my lathe choice, I would probably lean more towards the Doosan today. But for it being my first big boy machine, Haas is just so much user friendly.
Yeah,
that's kind of what tipped the scales in their favor.
And was it price comparable?
The Doosan was actually cheaper.
Oh, really? Huh.
It was. Well, they were within $1,000 of each other.
Okay, that's pretty good.
So, yeah, no, they made a whale of deal. The other problem that I had though was Haas was like a 2-week turnaround, and Doosan was like 5 weeks, and I had a job that was coming up that I needed the machine for. It was one of the first and biggest jobs that we've done on that machine, and it was too big of a job to turn away. So, had I gotten the Doosan route, it wouldn't have been here in time. So,
I've been kind of thinking about lathes recently, mostly because I was
awesome.
making the pen on a mill. But
yes, yeah, I would say that's probably your main reason. But I love my lathe, and then I hate it sometimes. It can be really, really, really nice, and it can also be really, really, really annoying. Changing out tools in it is a pain in the butt compared to a mill.
Yeah.
Like, I do not know why. Like, I know there are systems that exist, but they are not standard for having quick change tooling on a lathe.
Incapto is expensive.
Yes, Incapto is expensive. So, like, it's really annoys me that there's not a cheaper solution that's a quick change system for a lathe. Which, who knows? Maybe that's a product line I could come up with someday. But
you get bought by Sandvik and roll in the dough. Yeah, I don't know. There's still just not very many lathe options that are great. Like there's and I don't need a big high production lathe because again, I'm a prototyping shop. I'm not a production shop. So like even your lathe is way more lathe than I need. And that basically leaves like there's the baby Tormach, which is pretty cheap. Like it's not expensive, but it is a very small lathe. And I don't think I would be happy with something that limited.
Are you talking about the 8L?
The 8L, thank you. Then there's the 15L, which is actually a pretty awesome machine for what it is. Most people are very happy with their 15Ls, and they're small. They're 220 volt single phase. They have some automation options, and basically my only other option is the Haas Chucker, which
you should talk to Fidget Things.
Did he has
his? Not his Chucker. His Tormach.
Does he still have that? One? I think he got rid of that.
Oh, okay.
I think
If
it's
he
long
got rid
gone.
of it, it could be long gone. But if he still had it, it'd be cool to reach out to him and see if you could get a good deal on it.
Yeah,
Because he used to make all of his stuff on it.
I'm not ready to buy a lathe at the moment. I'm just kind of drooling over things.
You're toying with the idea
Yeah. Uh,
mentally.
yeah, and so he seemed not too impressed by his Haas chucker. It seems like
No.
it has some
Well,
questionable design choices, but it is single
he,
phase
he
220-volt, and it's not that expensive, and it's more than a Tormach.
he has things he loves about it, and he has things he hates about it, and he has no middle ground in between those two. That's kind of the impression I got.
So I don't know. If what I really want is I want Tormach to come out with the 15MX, the Slant Pro
Mhm.
15MX with servos. If it had servos, I would that would probably be enough to convince me. I don't want to
Yeah,
ever go back to a stepper machine though.
yeah, yeah. What I'm surprised, thinking about it a little more, what I'm surprised is they have lathe tooling, like the why is the name eluding me?
The Capto?
No, not Capto. Williman, the
Oh yeah,
Willimans, where they have the head that
that's what I
moves and they
really
can
need.
put. Yeah, yeah, that'd be awesome. The system in there where they use the head to as a lathe tool holder. I'm surprised that no one's made a lathe that just takes those H&K tool holders and then it has a turret system, not a round turret system, but just like a magazine where it goes and grabs it. It could still be stationary like a 2-axis turret, but just change out the heads and have like a magazine instead of the round turret deal. And then you can have unlimited tools. You can have them pre-set up. Um, it's similar to the Capto system, except now you can have an internal magazine where instead of having a 12 station turret, you could have like 50 lathe tools set up, and then your long drills and all that stuff, you wouldn't have to worry about spacing them around
Yes.
that turret, which is
Yeah.
so annoying. Um, like I would love to have a uh, it doesn't have to be a milling axis lathe, but I mean that's nice when they are. Just something that can switch out tooling quick access, um, and then you'd have so much clearance around it while you're using it that you wouldn't have to worry about. Um, I'm
I
just
have a
I'm just amazed it doesn't
BT30
exist.
lathe. That'd be.
Yeah, exactly, something like that.
I wonder how the
Um,
rigidity compares because
I
there's a
don't
lot more
know.
steel in like a BT30, but a 1 inch stick tool is an inch of steel with no moving parts or
Yeah,
anything.
yeah. I don't know. I know that the lathe is not as rigid as you would think it would be in a lot of the tooling. Um, like we've had some tooling that we've used where I don't feel like I had it stuck out that far, but then I move it back a half inch and it's like a mile difference in rigidity, um, in just the quality of the cut. But the problem is if you move it too far back, um, I don't have the clearance to get around everything I need to get around sometimes. Um, and then you see things like if you ever watch Titans of CNC, like they'll have a lathe where they'll have um, it's not a part off tool, but it looks like a part off tool, but it has like a round radius tool in it. And they're doing plunge cuts. They're doing side machining. Like they're doing like making a whole part with one tool type setup, with like, and the tool stuck out so far, and it's not chattering at all. And it's just like, okay, that's. I mean, it could just be the material they're using. Like, I mean, there's all sorts of things you can do to make something look impressive, but still, it I don't know. I feel like there could be something done there that would be a much better system. So, and who knows? Maybe that's a product line I need to develop one day.
Yeah.
When
There
there's a
are
problem, someone will fill the market.
yes. with 3 different competing standards.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll get a lathe eventually. It's not like, right now I'm not spending more money on big capital expenditures.
Yeah.
The $100 drill press was enough for me for a couple months.
Yeah, you need to focus on your next Kickstarter.
Yep.
Majorly.
I did finally design at least the first carabiner to go with the next Kickstarter.
Awesome.
And as a happy coincidence, I was able to use the same titanium blank.
So when did your last Kickstarter finish? Like, not the one that you just did, the Make 100, but the carabiner one.
Oh, I don't know. November or something?
October?
October, sure.
November?
Somewhere in there. October or November.
And you did the Make 100 as kind of a quick and easy one.
Yes.
So when's your next major one that you're trying to, like, do you have a planned release date? Because I know you have your goals of 4 a year, but that Make 100 doesn't count as part of your part of your 4, does it?
I am counting it, yes. March 26th is what I have as the target date for my next major Kickstarter.
Okay. That's going to come up fast.
It is coming up fast, especially because these pens, like, I was supposed to be machining the coins all the time that I was working on these pens. And so let's see, I was aiming to have the coins machined by the 25th. No, the 15th. I was aiming to have the coins machined by the 15th, which is in 2 days.
Yeah, you're busy.
They are not going to be machined by the 15th.
How long does it take to machine a coin for you?
I need to... So without optimizations, which I have not played with at all, it was about 20 minutes per coin. So with optimizations, I think I can get that down to about 10 minutes.
Is that one side or both?
Both sides.
Both sides, 20 minutes, both sides. So... so
that's 3 per hour, which would be 33 hours, basically.
Yeah. That's
assuming the 20 minutes still stands. If I get it down to 10 minutes per coin, then we're at 6 per hour, which would be 15, 16 hours.
Yeah, 2 days. So in theory, it could be doable unless you could load up a whole bunch and let it run overnight.
Yeah. I was kind of trying to avoid that, but the time savings might be worth it.
Well, the nice thing about that is it's a one tool. So if your tool snaps in the middle of the night, it's not going to damage it because you only have one size you're using.
Yeah.
So that's the perfect type of setup where you could have a whole bunch of them running at one time and not worry about anything.
Well, I mean, I have tool breakage detection set up, so I don't worry about that anyway. But what I could do even is no tool breakage detection. Let's say there's 16 coins on the fixture, load up 4 copies of the same tool and have like each tool do a column of 4.
Yeah.
So that just to avoid, like, even if I do lose the tool, I'm only losing, 75% of my production instead of 100%.
Yeah. But we got to get careful. You got to be careful not to get too far down into that sunk fallacy of building a whole fixture and all this stuff.
I would never.
It's cool to talk about all these hypotheticals to get it done by Wednesday, but let's be real, you'd spend the next 3 days designing the fixture to get it done. and then by the time you did all that work, like the time if you'd just done it during the day would have been faster. So
yeah, I have 4 mod vices. So I could run 4 no problem.
Have you looked at getting that middle vice for those mod vices where you can turn it into a dual station?
I have done that. So the middle vice isn't anything special. The middle vice is just the fixed jaw side, and then the outer vices are just the moving side. So the only thing you're really getting when you buy the dual vice setup is a different top piece for the middle fixed side. So I've done that with soft jaws.
So you should just get 2 extra moving vices, and then you could have.
I don't know if there's enough room to fit 4 double stations. I could fit 2 double stations.
They are if you go sideways.
You could fit 4 double stations?
Yeah, if you turn it sideways. Because you can stick 2. I believe you can. I think I just did that. You can stick it vertical, 2 vertical on it, I think. I need to go double check that. Don't quote me on that. It might not work, but I think you can.
I don't know. I could lay it out back there, without actually installing it, but just setting the things on there. Mm-hmm. Except at that point, I might as well just build a pallet because the mod vices are not cheap. So I would need. I have 4. What? Okay, so I would need 4 more moving jaws in order to make that work. I have enough of the fixed jaws.
No, you just need 2 more. Because you have 2 sets, right? Or just 1?
I have 4 complete mod vice sets. Which means
4 complete mod vice sets? So
yeah.
You have. Oh, you do.
But not 4 double stations. I could run 2 double stations, no problem.
Yeah. Gotcha. I thought you only had 2 sets of mod vices. So you have 4 sets of mod.
Servent Solutions used to use their mod vices, and then they, got fancy with their Speedio, and they were like, "Hey, do you want a bunch of mod vices for $200?" And I was like, "Sure." And so they sent me 2 complete mod vices plus like 3 dozen sets of soft jaws. Okay. I have a ton of soft jaws now.
Okay, well then here's your advantage. If you have enough to do 2 double stations, your middle mod vice will have 1. You're using 1 soft jaws to do both sides of it. So you could use 6 soft jaws to get 4 setups, 4 different clusters.
There would also be slightly less. Wait, no, it'd be the same amount of screw tightening. Never mind.
No, it would be it'd be the same amount. Yeah, it'd be the same amount.
I wonder if there's enough room on a soft jaw to fit 2 coins side by side.
There should be. Yeah. You could that would give you 8 at a time, which would at let's say 10 minutes a side because it's 20 minutes a coin. That's 40 minutes of continuous running. With no speed up. So that's a decent chunk of time where you can go do something else. So
could play with my drill press.
Yeah. Go make your extra money back on that doing something else.
I'm going to put out a notice on Facebook Marketplace. We'll drill holes for money.
It's one of those purchases where you regret it before you buy it. Sometimes.
Oh, I love the drill press. The drill press is great. It was just all the other problems that happened.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like a 50-year-old drill press, but it's in really good shape, and it's like,
those
old
older ones are.
It's good,
I was gonna say the old ones are almost nicer than the newer ones.
Definitely nicer than the Harbor Freight one.
Oh yeah.
Now I have seen some fancy modern ones that have a like a digital, like a VFD kind of readout built in, and they can do things like automatic depth stops and rigid tapping.
Oh, that's cool.
And
that's really cool.
But instead of my $100, $120 used drill press, that's like a $1,500 new one.
Mm-hmm.
But also, digital speed control would be nice. I have 5 belts. Well, 1 belt in 5 places.
Yeah. I think that's all I got for right now.
The only other thing I have is I have an accidental auto door on my mill now.
Accidental auto door. Please explain.
My door likes to close itself. It's actually open right now. One of my doors likes to close itself, and I could not figure out why for like 3 or 4 days. And then I found a random screw inside my chip bin, and I was like, what does the screw go to? Why does it looks like one of the screws that came with the Tormach. Where does it go? And it is the screw that holds up one of the brackets on the
Mm-hmm.
door, and so now it's just like a little bit tilted, and if you like bump it, it'll just slowly close on you.
Yeah. I noticed that when I set mine up, and I tried to get it where they were perfectly level, but mine is starting to. Mine has the inverse problem. It's starting to open up randomly rather than closed. Um, and like I had my machine one time while I was doing this job. Thankfully, it was only once. Just randomly, I'm across the shop and I hear a little pop. The door's starting to
Coolant
open
just
while
spraying.
and coolant splashing out. I'm like, ah! I really, and maybe this would be a good product. I've thought about this. Let me ask you this as a fellow Tormach owner. If I came up with a design where it was magnetic to hold it instead of the latch that they currently have, is that something you would buy?
Very possibly, especially if it held it open, like open and
Ooh,
closed.
yeah.
I have been using my frog pod to keep my door open for filming. Like I'll just
Mm-hmm.
take one of the feet of the frog pod and put it on the door, and the other foot and stick it on the frame.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I I don't know. I wouldn't mind an upgrade there. I don't
Yeah,
think too
because
many
I've
people would be super excited about it. I don't think it would be a
yeah,
great product, but if you made it, I would get it.
yeah. That's something I've thought about doing because like I like the the latch that they have, except for um the little like it doesn't hold as well as I'd like it to sometimes. Like sometimes it'll randomly pop open. And then the two balls that are in the mechanism that lock, um, when I installed it the first time, the one of the balls was falling out of the pocket,
Oh, really?
and so I flipped it upside down, and I haven't had that issue since. Um,
I think you might have a
but
defective latch. Is might be part of your problem because I think mine are both
it,
equally springy.
it could be. But I figured it's probably enough of a problem for other people that if you just switched it over to magnets, you just have never have to fight it again.
Yeah, no, I changed my mind. I would never do it because steel chips. They would end up all over the magnet.
Hmm.
Even my frog pot is bad enough with steel chips.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I wrap the feed in tape before I put it in the machine if I've been machining steel anytime recently, so I can just pop off the tape.
Hmm. That's a valid criticism. Yeah, I'll have to think on that. I'd like to come up with a better solution. I think it's a good like
Frog
I think
pot.
what they have is isn't too bad. Um, but if I could come up with a solution that held it closed and open, that'd be pretty sweet.
What I would really love is a override button that will override the coolant and keep it from turning on, even if there's a new M code call for the coolant.
Yes.
Because I
Yeah.
like, I do videos and I film and I'll have my doors open and I'll like not have coolant on the first tool, but then the second tool will have coolant and I'll turn it off and then like it'll, be a second tool path with the same tool and I'll turn the coolant back on and I get
Yeah.
wet, camera gets wet, floor gets wet.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd like an override button.
Yeah. When we get some money in our shop, one of the things we're going to be doing is getting a bigger pump for our Tormach. That eighth
Yes.
horsepower pump. That's the other problem I think that helped that like contributed to the lack of tool life in some of our drills was that anemic pump. We're you got to get more coolant onto those drill bits than what we were doing.
Yeah. Also get the coolant ring from
Oh,
LMD machine.
LMD machine. Okay.
Or
I might have you send me a link to that, or I'll try
okay,
to look
they're
them
on
up.
Instagram. I think
Um,
their actual name is like La Rosa Machine and Design, and I think they're LMD machine or LMD tooling on Instagram.
LMD.
That coolant ring is so nice. It installed in literally like 4 seconds. It was one screw, and the screw hole already exists in the machine. So all you do is you put it
LM,
up there and you tighten it on and you slide on the hose.
LMD tooling or LMD.
I thought it was like LMD machine. I guess I can look here. Uh, and they also have that little
LMD machine.
basket thing that goes under the chip basket that adds extra filtering. LMD_NC.
Oh, okay.
That's their Instagram name. Or you can just
Okay.
Google Tormach coolant rings and they will show up because they are the people for it.
Got it. I
But
will
yeah,
have to do that because Weston was asking me the other day, where did he get those? I was like, I have no idea. It's like,
yeah,
make sure you ask him next time you talk to him.
it
Like,
is.
okay.
That might be the single biggest upgrade I have ever done to any machine. Like it is so nice. And then he has a little like mesh filter that you put underneath the chip basket. And like
Mm-hmm.
I have the filter and all the hardware I need to hook up like inline coolant filtering, and I just haven't bothered because that's worked so well. It's probably not getting some of the really small fines, but it's getting rid of the stuff that it could clog up everything else. No, I do need to get that inline filter installed. That would be nice.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we need to get one of those and a bigger pump. Because that would be amazing.
I also need to get a new drain valve for my compressor because it decided that it is no longer going to be a drain valve. It is now a fidget spinner. It spins. It does not drain.
Yeah, I took my dad's air compressor because it was already in the shop, and because of how much sandblasting we've been doing, it just fills up with water like crazy. And I took out the plug and I put in a 90-degree elbow and a valve, and then tubing where I can just open that tubing and it'll drain out. So it's been awesome.
The drain valve broke for me earlier in the winter, but I was able to get away with it because it was really dry this winter. But now that it's starting to get warmer, like I am starting to see signs of wet in my air lines, and so I need to nip that
Yeah.
problem in the bud.
Yeah, I need to look at seeing if I can get like a solenoid on a timer where every few seconds it just off gases a little bit to keep it drained of water.
They have those. They
'Cause
have them that turn on every 24 hours. They have some that actually detect water and turn off or turn on when they detect the water.
oh, really?
Yeah,
I
people have
might have
done
to look
this.
into
Like
that
this is a thing.
because we've been looking at getting a what is it, a air dryer,
Yes. Yeah, I need one of
um,
those too.
because it's not good for our Tormach, it's not good for our Haas, and it is definitely not good for sandblasting and Cerakote. And right now we have like 6 inline water filtration systems, and it still makes it through. Um, my dad just installed another one the other day, and it had these like blue balls in it that
Yeah, the
when they got
desiccant.
wet, they would, yeah, it would turn pink when
That's
they
what I
got wet.
use.
It lasted less than 4 hours, and it
No,
was all pink.
mine lasts longer than that. Yeah, I
Yeah,
have.
it was less than one day. Like he installed it, and like the next day we like looked at it because I was just seeing how if it was working, and it was like solid pink, and there was like water inside with it, and it's like, yeah, that did nothing.
Coming out of my air compressor. I have like a 4 stage, 3 stage, 4 stage filter dryer that has like a couple water separators and then the desiccant at the end, which I probably need to change out right now. And then anything that's critical has another filter dryer right before it. And the one that I use for powder coating gets a little bit of water in there sometimes. Um, the sandblaster does not have a filter regulator on it, but I can just like there's a drain valve at the bottom of my drop, and I do definitely get water there. But fortunately, I have never seen any water at the Tormach.
So we drain probably a quart or two of water every week out of it.
Yeah, that's you probably are more humid than we are,
Significantly.
especially in the winter. We're bone dry in the
Yes.
winter. We'll get pretty humid in the summer, but
We're humid all year round.
yeah,
It's actually it's worse in the spring and then the summer than it is in the winter. The winter is our dry time, and we're still getting that much water out.
yeah. And do you have air conditioning? Remind me.
Just got done today.
Okay, cool. That'll help you too.
Yeah, we just got it installed today. Heat and air. Turned it on for the very first time. I forgot to mention that. Turned it on for the very first time today. Super excited about that. Tomorrow will be our first full day with heat and air. So, woohoo!
That it's such a huge difference.
Yeah. Well, we've been using propane, and propane, it's not the greatest because it can make you really lightheaded with it running basically all day. And like you walk in there and it's like, this smells horrible. Like
Yeah.
we're gonna die an early death if we keep doing this. So excited to get that going because those machines, like when they get as cold as they do not like to run.
Yeah. Even my Tormach's unhappy when it's that cold.
Oh yeah. Like my Haas will start yelling at me like, do not run anything until this machine is warm up. Like keep running spindle warming programs before you actually run a job. And then my Tormach, when it gets cold, the tool changer stops working. Like the air cylinder. It'll like, you'll hear it turn and you can just hear it just slowly disengaging because it's cold. And maybe I need to grease it a little bit. I don't know. But when it warms up, it doesn't have any problems. So it's only when it's really cold in the morning.
Well, should we call it?
I think so. I think we've kind of rambled on long enough.
We're getting longer. Our podcasts are getting longer.
I don't know. I feel like this one's an average one. Like
I think an hour and 40 is our longest one yet. Except maybe the one with Servin.
He was just messaging me. He was just messaging me before the podcast. So I'll have to see what he's up to.
But I think he deleted one of my comments on an Instagram post. I'm a little bit.
Oh, he deleted it?
I think so. Anyway, on that note, now that I've thrown I've thrown that company under the bus. I'm just gonna start calling him Kevin Solutions. It's close enough.
Kevin Solutions. Yeah. For those of you who've held on to our rambling, we appreciate it. Please tell all your friends about this podcast. I mean, you can tell them about other ones, but we prefer this one. And I'm Harrison with Precision Ingenuity, signing out with AJ from Design to Everything.
Bye.